Hey, this is Christian Buckley, another MVP Buzz Chat video, and I'm here with Becky. Becky, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi there, I'm Becky Benishek. I am a very grateful two-time Microsoft MVP for Office Servers and Services. I specialize in Yammer. I've been at my company, Crisis Prevention Institute, for a while, since 2011, and I've been working with online communities and making people happy in them for over 8 years.
And you've been working, I mean, you were working with Yammer prior to the acquisition, though, weren't you?
No, actually I wasn't.
Oh, really?
But I think it was turned on in our company right before, but then nobody used it, so we didn't actually start using it until 2014.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just telling somebody yesterday that former company of mine, I won't name any names, but that a new employee started there that I'm friends with, and he said, yeah, he went in to look for their Yammer network, and he said, I saw the last entries were from Christian Buckley like 3 years ago. I'm like, ooh.
Ooh.
Not
Nice
utilizing
legacy.
that resource. Yes. But yeah, so I mean, so what's your kind of, what are you focused on these days when you're out speaking, writing about, talking about, kind of what are the topics that you're most passionate about?
I'm really passionate about what it's done for our customers, and then by extension our company, because it's really cool. I mean, of course we started out with the Yammer home network like people do.
Right.
And we got everybody in and had a great kickoff party with food and music, and we did appropriate MC Hammer's Hammer Time and said Yammer Time. That did happen.
Of course. Right.
But you know,
The given.
it was good. It was good. And then I saw the potential for our customers. We currently had, at that time, we had a community that wasn't really working. It was on a different platform. And if it had worked, I probably wouldn't be talking about this here today, but it just wasn't right for our customers. And we could tell that because they weren't using it. So it's often what people don't say and how they don't use something that can help guide you toward what can happen. So I evaluated Yammer. It made sense. Thought, let's try it. So we launched it around the same time, 2014. And started slowly getting people in.
I find myself saying this a lot, but it's like you could have a perfectly architected solution platform, and if end users don't use it, how perfect is it? I mean,
it's not, no.
And so, and on the flip side of that, you can have outdated technology, but that meets the business need and people love and are passionate about, and you should also step carefully, because that's more about community management and the productivity of that team, it's not always about the technology, having the latest, greatest things that are out there.
Right. I think it's a far second to the people in it. The platform doesn't, in a sense, platform's not as important.
Well, there was a Microsoft slide that I hijacked for years. In fact, I was doing I did a keynote of the European SharePoint conference in Barcelona a few years back. And I invited Mark Cashman from Microsoft to co-present with me at that session. And so we were talking about Yammer, and we were talking about a number of these things. And I did a panel session and we had like Naomi Moneypenny was on that panel and things down in Barcelona. You know, one of the things so the slide had up there, it had like these 3 circles, and it was people, process, and technology. And the mistake that organizations make is they flip that and they focus on technology first, and then are around the process side of that and leverage the technology, and they put people last, when it is exactly opposite of that. People, number one. You can have solid process, happy people, and crappy technology and be successful. But rarely, I would say never, do you have the best technology, you know, whether the process things, and not have people on board and then be succcel. Just doesn't work.
I think it's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like, what are the stuff what are you writing about, talking about, like specifically on there? What was your latest presentation you gave about?
Oh, well, the latest presentation, I decided to update something I had written a year or so ago about why your customers need an online community, because it's just been working so amazingly well for us. It's just kind of like a way to hopefully pay it forward and tell other people, Yammer isn't just for employee collaboration. I mean, it's awesome. If it works, yes, use it. But also think about your customers. Build an external network or even external groups.
Yeah.
Because what we found is, and I did a survey on this too, because my eyeballs see things, but it's always good to back things up with data and analytics. And it's made our customers feel closer to us. They've actually said that. And they say they think of us as a community, not just a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
So providing this, it's worth taking the chance. Even if it's not Yammer, that's fine. It just happens to work for us really well, which is why I love it. And we just keep getting more people all the time.
Well, it's funny. I mean, well, a couple things. Let's circle back to the external community, aspect of it, and that, because I think it is it's always been one of the best, use cases for, value props of Yammer. And even with all of the latest things that have come out and with teams and things, it still doesn't, in my mind, it does not replace that strength of that value prop there. But just kind of something that I thought of as you talked about your own internal communities. And this is an aspect that, again, when you're thinking from technology and process, you're not thinking about the people, is that when you have people together and sharing ideas and being collaborative and being social and having the visibility of what they're doing and communicating in that way, especially, in teams where it's like, we're working on this ticket, we're working on this problem, this project together, you're then blind to what's happening elsewhere. And Yammer and having that broader community is that discovery of all of these other things that you might be missing because you've been focused on that project or that problem. Right. But is that when you get the community together like that, what happens is that you get other innovation, other benefits that come out of it, other than like this project, this thing that you're going there for.
Right.
Sorry,
right.
Maybe I didn't articulate that so well.
No, exactly. I've seen that. People get caught up in org charts and where you sit in a company and your job title. And what we found with Yammer is if someone posts a question or an idea or has a project, you kind of focus on that first and then think about who did it second, if at all. And that's where you start getting that open collaboration, and it works with customers and it works internally as well. It's beautiful.
Right. So I've been blogging on Buckley Planet since I've had that since 2004. I started blogging with my company prior to that. So at 2002, and I moved some content over to that. But when I started Buckley Planet, which is used to be on TypePad, and that's moved across. I've upgraded that. But it was cataloging a lot of these social platforms. So I'm one of the earliest LinkedIn adopters. I was there while it was still beta. When they used to have in your URL, it used to be there's a number in that URL. That was
that's right.
Number. And so I'm down in like the 5,000 range, somewhere down there. It's but there was another like network called Rise, RYZE. It's still out there, still running. It's it's not been really kept up, but a bunch of these other platforms out there was getting that network effect. Was the discovery process and being connected to people within your company around and sharing ideas, and how that exponentially increases the innovation that happens in an organization.
Yeah, definitely. And you can measure it and you can see with your eyeballs both ways. It's great. And it's really opened up, I think, our whole culture, our employee culture. Well, and then it extends outwards because, you have to kind of have a good feel inside for it to affect what's happening outside, how you reach your customers. I think it absolutely implements that.
Well, so what are some techniques that you guys have found successful inside your company to keep people going because there's that aspect of community management that is, as things get quiet, as again, people go and they focus and they zone in on what they're working on. And so what do you guys do to kind of stir the pot and keep people engaged?
Well, you know what? This might sound a little radical. We actually don't do too much. We kind of sit back and let it roll internally. Because we found that we went from what's this Yammer thing when it first launched to you should put that on Yammer. And it's baked into our culture now. So for me as a community manager, it's actually at a point where that's the dream. you just kind of want to sit back and just make sure you keep the lights on and keep people in there, and get them in if they're asking any technical questions. But they develop their own use cases.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed, and when when I started out, of course, I was like, "Oh, here's some things you guys could use it for," because there were
Right.
always.
But I think that's where a lot of companies are, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the point. I mean, you guys have gotten to that level where it's now baked into your culture.
Yeah.
What can organizations do to help get it to that point?
That, I guess, keep talking about it. Use offline means to talk about online means. Don't negate the bulletin boards and lunchrooms. I had giant posters tacked up for probably about a year after launch.
Yeah.
We even used yams as a symbol. It was interesting.
Suddenly, now you have to be concerned about the flies, the fruit flies that gather in
well,
the rotting produce around the office.
Virtual
Excellent.
yams. But virtual yams, yes. We have an all-company staff meeting. We're small enough where we can still have an office staff meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody in the office, whatever trainers are in, we'll just stand in a huge circle in a big room and go around and say news, so I can give updates that way.
Yep.
And you can kind of spot the early adopters and the people you turn into and ambassadors, because they just dive in, they fill out their profile, they start posting things, and those are the people you nurture. So it's not just you, because of course I'm going to say put it on Yammer, but it's a lot more clout if somebody in someone's own department says it who's not paid to say it, basically. Yeah.
So that company that I mentioned, I mean, so one like an experience that I had is that we had this worldwide kind of sales meeting, and everybody's together, and it was relatively new, and after an acquisition, and I said, you know what, we're having this, we've got people in 3 or 4 different office locations around the world that are part of this live event going on, and people up presenting, and where are the questions that are being asked? Where's the conversation that's happening? There was nothing there. And so I went and spun that up. And I think, when I went into Yammer, nobody had been in there for over a year at that point, and just kind of created a space for this kickoff, this annual meeting, and started adding notes and prompting people, like ask questions. And I think it was by the time the 3rd speaker got up over the course of the entire day, they then started fielding questions that were being asked from the global audience in Yammer. And what was really cool, though, was being there at the next meeting, not quite a year later, and going in and using the exact same space, seeing that there was some activity, but that when people were going and looking for information, asking questions and following on, they were actually pulling up and saying, like, a year ago you said this. It was awesome. Maybe not so much for the executive team, but anyway, but to have the record there and then continue to add to that record as part of that knowledge sharing. I mean, it was awesome to see that happen. Unfortunately, then I left, and then they stopped at that point because no one was nurturing that. But
this is a sad story.
But it wasn't part of the culture. I mean, I think that proves that value, but it also then proves the need for that community management aspect until it's part of the culture.
And even then, you still need somebody or a team of somebody's volunteers. There has to be somebody, the go-to person. Even.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then, so let's talk about the external, using it, because that's one of my favorite use cases. Because as a small little consulting company, I create virtual teams. I work across I've got customers and partners, and want to do something that's easy, and it's not practical. And for the things that we're trying to do, spinning up and using Teams is not always the right place. We need to do more than just sending and doing a shared OneDrive location for sharing content. I'm just not a fan of email-based communications with the OneDrive link. I want to put it there. I want it to be visual. I want to be able to see the threaded discussions around that.
Right.
And so I love that aspect of Yammer and use it to this day.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, as you know, the external networks, they're not sitting on Office 365. So there are some things that may deter people from using it, but we haven't actually found, any loss of or lack of anything in ours. So I'll just get that one out of the way. It's perfectly fine not being attached. when we started it, as with anything, I guess, go as high as you can, get that executive buy-in and get the reasons why laddered back to company goals, because you need even more support internally, I think, for an external network, because at least with us. So we're a small company, we're mid-sized, but we've got over 30,000 customers globally.
Mm-hmm.
So we're slowly having them all opt in. We want people to be in there with the time and inclination to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
But what we found is where our aim was, we'll just kind of sit back and let them talk to each other. It's a peer network, not us. We're definitely not trying to sell them anything, or we're
Right.
not trying to just come in there. But they actually like hearing from us.
So
they said that in the survey too. So I need that staff buy-in to help support. Yeah.
Are you using like a customer portal? Is that your customer portal where you're
Sort of
sharing?
think of it like that. We still use our website quite extensively. We have our whole learning management system on there, and
Mm-hmm.
so we're a train the trainer kind of
Mm-hmm.
company. So they go onto our regular website for rosters and scheduling and things, but then they come on Yammer and talk about it all.
Hmm.
So for a third-party system, if you think about it, it works brilliantly. And the fact that it works for them still amazes me, because they're so busy. We found out that only 5% of them do our job, or the job we train them to do, as their full-time job. Everyone else, they're teachers, they're police, they're security, they're in hospitals, nurses, mental health, doctors, things like that. But they still have time to come onto Yammer and ask questions, get help, brainstorm.
Right.
So yeah, when we launched it, I was thinking, you launch things and you had your beta testers in there, you have your soft launch, official launch. You kind of just sit back and you think, will they come? And then they did. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the way that if I'm going into a new area, a new topic, I'm looking for information out there. One of the first places that I go now, especially living in the era of fake news, kind of in every flavor everywhere. I go and I try to find the forums, just like when I'm shopping for a product, and I want to go and say, what's the highest reviews? And then you have to look at the reviews. Like that has a 5-star with 3 people reviewing. This one has a 4-star, but with 5,000 people reviewing. That's pretty good, and doing those kinds of comparisons. But so I find myself going and doing my research in different types of forums. And in some ways, I mean, that's what this then provides is a place for that community, is that forum to go and do that research, to ask questions, to go and find out if someone's already answered that question before I ask the dumb question that's already been asked a million times and answered a million times. That's out there, and so any company can go and leverage that. Any community can go and leverage that has Yammer. I was going to point out though, as far as what's there not being in Office 365, I mean, there is a roadmap to still on the back end for Microsoft to kind of consolidate, bringing everything together so that, Yammer eventually, anything that you add in, it's, whether it's a file or the conversation that you have, that it is tied back to the graph. It's on the substrate so that it's searchable, it's discoverable. You can create, unified policies, compliance across all of the workloads. All of that are things that Microsoft is working on that are high priority. I don't know that there are any gaps that people are getting hung up on now.
I think the only gap is, I mean, there's some things that I'd like to customize, but we're ticking along fine without them. But I have my list in case anybody ever wants to ask me to do any testing or anything. I will.
Well, I have to. So, Becky, are those items or are they up in the user voice?
I think some of them are, but not all of them.
Yeah,
I love the user voice. It's amazing.
I harass people, and I do the same thing where I've like, should I go in? And most of the things I suddenly feel like, why is this not here? And I go look and see some conversation, and there's most of them are already up or being discussed as part of existing. So which is a good validation that, hey, I'm not the only one that's experienced this problem. And then I just go vote up, add my vote. If people are watching and aren't sure what that is, I mean, it's Microsoft. It's fantastic because they are listening and they're taking action. So I always say that there's 3 places that you need to follow and participate in. One is to follow just the Office blogs, because anything in our world, Becky, the Office servers and services, they're announcing it out on that Office blog. That's going to be the first place where they'll like news. 2 is the Microsoft Tech Community. That's where conversation happens. And Microsoft product marketing, engineering, they're all on there. They are watching, they're paying attention. But if you love a product like Yammer, but there's missing an integration, some feature that would make your life easier, that would help solve a specific pain point with your organization. If it is not already out on User Voice, go and add it to User Voice as a request. And then go back to Microsoft Tech Community, post it that, hey, I added this to User Voice, get 5-10 people to vote for it, and all it takes is 5-10 votes, and Microsoft will respond.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. I mean, using Yammer and then meeting the Yammer team at Microsoft, it makes me feel the way our customers say they feel about us. It's like, wow, Microsoft is no longer faceless. It has people. It's a living, breathing organism, and it's super cool.
Do you have one of those Yammer warm fuzzy gloves? Did you ever see those?
No, I have Yammies hanging around, but not the gloves.
Yeah, I don't have a Yammy. I had one, and then I gave it to somebody else that felt bad they didn't get one or something. But no, I don't remember if somebody just had it or if it was an official Yammer. But it was just like it may have just been one of those lamb's wool like car washing things, soft gloves, but they had it branded Yammer, and it was like the warm fuzzy, and they
my goodness,
on your shoulder. It was hilarious.
Just one though. That's kind of funny.
And that was really, really funny.
It is such a cool byproduct. I mean, when we launched that external network, we actually thought, well, it'll help bring our customers together. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't know who else does our training. For privacy reasons, we don't send out any emails or say, hey, you're in Guam, this person's in Guam too. We don't do that because it's privacy and things. But if they feel like self-identifying on our network, and they do, then it's suddenly like, oh my gosh, I had no idea you were here, the next town over, you're in this same country. But that's still even just a byproduct of what they use the network for. They want to get answers, they want to help other people. And I've seen so many of them, they say they read the digest email, and then it helps keep them in touch. They love getting it, and they'll dip in if they can help.
Yep. Yeah. Well, man, maybe in this era, this is a good like article idea, is the fact that, all of the benefits of like a Facebook without all of the risk of a Facebook.
That's a beautiful blog title.
Yeah. But it's, but you think about that, but that's it. I mean, I've been a social collaboration guy since the late 90s. And, I've a couple different companies where we actually went in and built our own instant messaging client back in the day. So this was like 97, 98. Okay. And I could give it more of a story like that. So I helped beta an update to AOL Instant Messenger. I go back a ways. And right after they had acquired, AOL had acquired ICQ. So was that 94, 95, somewhere around there. So I'm just a huge believer in the social as far as community, getting people to communicate, talk, and connect and share ideas. And that's why I'm a collaboration technology guy, and this is an important aspect. This had been missing from the SharePoint universe for years and years and years. That I'd been presenting on for years and years and years, and I felt like the only social technology guy out talking about this in the SharePoint sphere. It's great to see. I'd like to see more deeper integrations. I want to see that the graph, I want it to be fluid, so that doesn't matter where you're having a conversation, that it shows up in the graph. It's searchable, findable within these other workloads. But it's powerful to have these kinds of capabilities. Yeah. Anyway, that's my soapbox. That's my story.
It's not a bad soapbox.
Well, so Becky, I mean, how can people find you? Follow you, get in touch with you? They have questions. They want to know about this network. They want to get on the inside.
Yes, ask me anything. I love talking about this. I'm on LinkedIn. So of course, Becky Benishek, again, my name. So LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, Microsoft Tech Community. I'm on Medium a bit now. Basically, I do a lot of cross posting, but meeting's
Yep.
pretty nice.
Yep.
I think those are the main ones. Yeah.
Okay. And, so I'll share some of the links out to that as well. So, Becky, it was great to talk to you. And while we didn't get to hang out and talk much during the summit,
no, we didn't. But that was a great time.
there was just so much going on. I was joking that I was sitting at the airport going home, and I see somebody posting to Facebook that they saw like Ted Pattison, so big name in the SharePoint space for a long time, and I'm like, I didn't see Ted once, and I look up just as Ted walks in front of me. I'm like, Ted. He's like, hey, Christian. Yeah. But I mean, there's so much going on, and so I just didn't see people, and so anyway, yeah.
I understand this. Yeah. It was such a great time.
I'm now chasing the Yammer team to do another recording next week around something, so you'll see that soon. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But anyway, but it was great connecting with you, talking with you, and thanks for participating in this MVP Buzz Chat recording.
Oh, my pleasure.
We'll talk to you soon.